Fujifilm have blessed us with the X100 series for 5 iterations now. It's become one of the world's most popular premium compact cameras, especially so with the Fujifilm X100 V selling out of camera stores globally. Today we're going to review this brand new X100 series camera up against the X100 V to see where the differences are and how much better the 6 is. Before we get into the review, we're just going to do a quick spec rundown on the 6 versus the 5. Who I have with me today is Charlie from Fujifilm, who's going to represent Team X100 6, whereas I'm going to be repping Team X100 5. So take away, let's start with the sensor. Charlie, what do you have?
It comes with the 40 megapixel sensor with the CMOS 5 HR sensor, and equipped with that is the X Processor 5 too. So it's what you would find with the Fujifilm X-T5 and the Fujifilm X-H2.
In this bad boy, we only have a 26.1 megapixel as opposed to the 40, but we also have the X Processor 4 working with it. So not quite as glitz and glam as the X100 6, but it holds up. What's next?
And another key feature is that this camera also has AI subject detection. It's able to identify cats and dogs and then most mediums of transport quite easily. So if you pair that up with the X Processor 5 together, you'll notice a significant jump when it comes to the autofocus.
Now with the autofocus of the X100 5, we have a pretty standard autofocus system. We don't have any of the AI bells and whistles in the 6, but personally using this over the last couple years, pretty confident with the autofocus, so hopefully we can get some cool shots with it. And now in terms of video.
Yes, so video, we've definitely amped it up quite a bit with this camera. So this camera now has the capability to shoot up to 6.2K resolution at 30p and then 4K at 60p as well.
The V can only do 4K up to 30p. And in terms of connectivity, we have the standard Wi-Fi connectivity in the X100 V that can just connect to your phone, but I've heard some pretty cool things about the connectivity in the 6.
Yes, we are really excited to announce that with the X100 6, it is now equipped with Frame I/O. No additional accessories are needed for that.
Now in terms of design, both these cameras are basically similar. In terms of the actual control layout on both cameras, they're exactly the same. ISO dials inside, you've got your shutter dial at the top as well. In terms of the front, the lenses share the same 23mm f2 lens with your ability to open up as wide as f2 and close it down to f16. And you've also got your same tilty screen at the back and your hybrid EVF as well. The 6 might have a slightly deeper grip, but honestly, outside of that, your control dials, your scheme, your screen, your ports on the side, you still have a 2.5mm mic jack. You've got a USB-C port for charging as well as headphone use, as well as a micro HDMI. And then at the front, the switcher as well on the 6 is now more discreet. It's just all clean one color as opposed to a little black and red in the X100 5. Battery's exactly the same?
Yep, battery's exactly the same. And then, for those who have the accessories of the X100 V, it's compatible with this as well. So you don't have to buy a whole different range of items for this.
So now that we're done with the features as well as the comparisons between both of the cameras, we're going to go into our shootout. So for the portrait challenge, we're going to be using the X100 6 and we're going to test out a brand new film simulation called Reala Ace, which is basically like a ProVR, but a little bit more vibrant. So that should be really cool. And then we're going to use my personal X100 5 as well. We're going to be using the classic horror film simulation, and we're going to take photos of Rosie with both of these, and just to compare the main differences. Now, I have a theory that the 6 is going to be a little bit easier to shoot because we do have that AI subject detection, which is going to get us that quicker face detection and eye autofocus as well. Let's take them for a test. On both cameras, photos look amazing, as you would expect from the X100 series. On those film simulations, all those photos look very vibrant. They look very classic, like they're being shot from a film camera, but with the resolution from a digital. But one of the coolest things from the X100 6 over the 5 in that shooting experience was indeed the autofocus. So the autofocus now has subject detection, which it does in the 5, but it's so much quicker and more sophisticated in the 6. I was able to nail the eye autofocus way better on the 6 than I was on the 5. Had to do a bit more tweaking on the 5 to get the shots that I wanted, whereas the 6, I was already shooting away and basically getting the shots I wanted immediately and not needing to have to fluff around a little bit with the autofocus settings. The second thing is, with the in-body image stabilization, it was super easy to get those shots of Rosie, and I really had a lot of confidence going out shooting with the 6. Now, with the photos on the 5, they're still good, but in terms of the resolution, you can get way more out of the 6. The 40 megapixel sensor, with all these shots that I've shot a little bit wide or also close, you can crop in way more than the X100 V, and overall, just a really good shooting experience over the 5. So now that the portrait segment is done, we're gonna do the landscape challenge. Now for both cameras, I'm gonna set them to Velvia. We're gonna get those more vibrant colors out of the grass and the reeds for the nature shots. We're gonna see how they both compare. Now in terms of the landscape shooting experience, after just testing both of these, they're pretty similar in terms of speed. The 6 definitely edges out on that autofocus speed, and you can definitely see the benefits in resolution. So if you like shooting your long exposures, you do get the benefits of both the in-body stabilization, but also the ability to crop in as well with that higher resolution sensor. Now, in terms of landscape, the shooting experience between the X100 VI and the V are quite similar. Now, obviously, I didn't use any of the subject detection autofocus features, but in terms of autofocus, the 6 was definitely faster and snappier to get my shot. Furthermore, in terms of resolution, you benefit a lot if you're a landscape and street photographer. Getting that 40 megapixel sensor is going to give you so much ability to crop in on your photos as well, or if you like to blow up and print your photos, the sensor is going to benefit more for that. And now that we're done with the landscape segment, we're going to do the action segment. So what I'm going to do on both cameras, I'm going to set them to high continuous burst mode. And I'm also going to use autofocus continuous on both cameras. However, for the 6, we're going to be using subject detection mode, as it does have a animal mode on it. And we're going to see how well it performs. Let's go. So now we've done the action segment, here are my impressions on the Fujifilm X100 VI over the 5. I really saw it shine here. So with the processor on how fast it processed and the buffer time, I could get a lot of continuous shooting out of the 6 over the 5. We're using basically the same memory card on both. You can tell the 6 was way more snappier. You could see it track along, held with him all the way through, as opposed to my X100 V. I had a lot of struggles with buffer, like after 10 or so frames, it starts to slow down a bit. And it wasn't getting the frames that I wanted it to get and was missing a couple shots. And with the stabilization as well, I was able to pan really nicely with an overall just a much faster shooting experience on the 6. So my final thoughts on the shootout between the two cameras, although they're both pretty similar and they're going to give you very nice photos on both cameras, the 6 in terms of the actual shooting experience is way better. It's faster with the new processor. It is so much more reliable in terms of autofocus. I feel like that got a really big upgrade with the AI subject detection, as well as your ability to just in general get faster autofocus. And in terms of the 40 megapixel resolution, you're going to get way more flexibility in post, being able to crop your photos multiple times, being able to get a lot more flexibility in what you want in terms of print as well. So before I close out my thoughts on the X100 VI and how it performs over the 5, just want to talk about how much and how far it's come since the first X100 came out. After almost 15 years of having this camera within the camera lineup of Fujifilm, it's crazy to see how much what used to be a focus on a camera that paid homage to the film days, plus a camera designed mostly for street photographers, see how much it has evolved to what it is now in the 6. We've got 6.2K video now, we've got in-body image stabilization, we have the ability to work professionally using platforms such as Frame.io, and the fact that the X100 VI now has stuff like F-Log2, which is great for anyone who is a professional videographer who wants to use this camera as a B camera and match their content with their main cameras such as the X-T5. You've got the ability to do that in the 6. It's not only just an enthusiast camera now, but it can be used for professional uses. Now, in terms of the actual camera itself, it's still a really powerful compact camera that is great for photography, and a bit of videography on the side as well. Now, compared to the 5, although there isn't that much difference in design, it packs so much punch on the inside of this camera. The fact that we have AI autofocus now, which works so well with subject detection, I was so gassed with how well it works. With the shots with Fuji, it identified him and followed him all the way, which compared to the 5, I didn't really have that benefit of continuous autofocus. You have the much larger sensor now, which is going to give you more high resolution shots. And it's still in the same compact form factor that you would expect in the X100 series, but now just a little bit more powerful. Now, if you have any questions on the Fujifilm X100 VI, pop them in the comments below or drop into our store on George Street in Sydney, Australia. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and our blog to stay up to date with the latest and greatest cameras. And if you enjoyed our video, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest videos as we upload regularly.
Let's begin.